Welcome, everyone, to the second episode of the Purgatory Aftershow. I'm Mauricio, and today I'm here with my good friends Wibbs and Derek, as always. And we're going to be discussing the best albums of 2024, according to our opinion. Hopefully, we're not going to kill each other as we go through our lists. How are you guys doing? How are you, Derek?
I'm good, Mauricio. How are you?
It's going. And what about you, Wibbs?
All good, all good. Listening to lots of metal, watching lots of football. It's the it's the holiday season. Gotta love it.
Yeah. All right, so before we start, I just want to get a feeling about your views on 2024 in metal. Do you think this was a particularly good year, bad year? What do you think?
I think it was a great year. But I wonder how much that would change given this hasn't been a very black metal year, as I was talking to Wibbs about during when we were on our way to a show the other day. At least for me, like I just didn't, wasn't something I went for a lot this year. But for what I did go for, like Death Doom, as always, great year, just fantastic year. And I think death metal at large had a pretty good year.
Yeah, it's funny you say that. I've just been completely unable to keep up with the absolute torrent of black metal this year. There's been so much black metal, but that's what I instantly gravitate towards. So I've been listening to a whole lot of it. Especially from Northern Europe. I think it's been a very, very productive year for some of my favorite labels, and just seen a huge amount of black metal. Death metal maybe a little quieter this year for me. Like there's been a few, but I mean, as we'll see probably when we look at my list, it's not. My list is going to be quite on brand to you guys. I think it doesn't really have that much death metal in, which is embarrassing because I do love death metal, but yeah, not so.
So
much
we had opposite
year.
years. It sounds like, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's true. Because I share the sentiment that the Up Derek, I feel like it's been a great year for death metal, but similarly to you, Wibbs, that's naturally what I gravitate towards. So,
Yeah.
but I think it was a phenomenal year for metal, 2024, to the point where uh, figuring out the top 10 of my list is generally a nightmare. I think this year was extra hard. That was my feeling. It was really, really hard. I feel like the top three, four were kind of easy, but everything after that was just like I switched positions so many times. It's really hard.
That's the maddening part of the whole list season is how much you have to move, or not have to, but you do end up moving albums all across your list. Yeah, and then you go into our Discord channel with our buddies, and there's just new things like coming out. I guess today that you're like, oh, I want to put that in, but just no way.
that's one thing I've noticed actually. I feel like normally when I get to around this time of year, I'm just ready to publish my list and I'm like done. I'm like, I don't really want to listen to anything else for the rest of the year, like I'm just tapped out. Whereas this year, I'm like, shit, I should really not be publishing my list until January because like every week there's just more like killer shit that's coming out. And I'm not, you know, I think some of the things that I've heard over the past couple of weeks maybe could have ended up in the top 10, maybe, who knows. I don't know, but like, yeah, it you just don't get time to really spend with those albums at this late stage of the year, especially when we're trying to record. So
Yeah, I've
sucks to
also
be you.
yeah, I've also completely decided to like it's like I'm not listening to new metal, and that started about a couple of weeks ago. But I had
Not
to
new
listen.
metal, but new metal. Just
yeah,
to
not
clarify for the
yeah. Just to be
listeners.
clear, not new metal. Yeah, but I did. There were, as Wibbs was saying, there were a couple records that came out recently. Like, you just can't ignore them, right? Like Opeth is one. All of us just came out. You got to listen to it. There's just no right. But yeah, and before I jump into how the episode is going to work, I have one more question: is how big is your list in terms of number of albums as of now?
50. Try to keep it tight. Yeah.
I have a list where I have a top 100, and I keep kicking things out of my top 100, and
Damn.
but I don't think I'll publish 100. I like to. I think I'll probably just keep it down to like 49, 50. But there's some really fucking good albums that are not going to make that top 50, which, again, I think that speaks to the quality of the year, right? It's just been a deluge of good shit.
Yeah, I have
No
about
complaints.
I have about 60 albums in my list as well. And let's just take a moment to appreciate how nerdy we are with all this stuff. Like, right? It's crazy. But cool. So the way the episode is going to go, we're going to walk through our top 10, our individual top 10s, but we put some twists into it. The first thing is that all of us, we got clips from our top 10 albums, and we just anonymized those clips. So like, I have my top 10 albums as audio files, and then we're gonna listen to them live, all three of us. So they're gonna discover my number 10, 9, 8, and etc. as we listen to it. So you guys listening are gonna be able to get our reactions from listening to those clips. But there's also some cases there might be certain albums that might be in multiple lists. So as an example, that same example that I talked with the guys when we were discussing this, let's say I have Judas Priest Painkiller as my number 7, and if the time comes for me to review what my number 7 is, we'll listen to the clip. Then afterwards, Wibbs is gonna say, "Oh, that's a pretty cool album. I also like it, but it's higher on my list." So I don't know exactly which position that is, but it's higher because it's higher on his list. We're not gonna discuss it. So we're gonna wait till it appears at the highest position between all of our lists before discussing that particular album. So that's how it's gonna go. I'm very excited for this episode. We put a lot of effort into preparing everything, and I really hope that you, the listeners, also enjoy. So let's get to it. Okay, so we're gonna get things started with number 10, and we're gonna first clip of the night is going to be Derek's. So Derek's number 10. We're gonna play it right now.
Fucking metal.
Yeah.
Right?
Way to kick it off, Derek.
That's what I was going for.
If anybody had any doubts about whether this is an underground metal show, like they just got some extreme metal kicked right in the balls.
Band and song name.
The band is Hemorrhoid. The song was Sliced and Tucked from the album Raw Materials of Decay.
Yeah, that one is in my list, but on a lower position. Is that one in your list as a
Oh.
higher position, Wibbs?
Oh,
Is
oh.
it in the top 10 or no?
Nah, that's not in my top 10, but I definitely listened to and enormously enjoyed that record. It's fucking awesome.
Yeah, do
Yeah.
you want to talk a
I
little bit
love that
about it
thing.
then, Derek?
Yeah. No, I love this thing. It's so it was released by Extremely Rotten and Head Split Records. And this is some death grind from Portland, Oregon, featuring some members of Witch Vomit and Torture Rack. And yeah, I mean, I think across all of our lists coming up, you're gonna hear a lot of like real intricate stuff and real beautifully played passages. But sometimes you just need some like death grind, and that's what this is. It's just great death grind, raw, nasty. Not really trying to do too much in terms of straying far from that. Pretty clearly, I would say for the fans of the like early Carcass era, like Reek of Putrefaction kind of thing. Um, but yeah, no, this is so much fun. But yeah, I think they like really hit that sweet spot between like the gross impenetrable grindcore that everybody's used to, and the catchy riffy thrash also. And a very appropriate cover, which is done by Grant Hatfield. I think presumably of Hatfield and McCoy fame. So that's pretty cool.
Yeah, it's a really good record. I did give it like its fair share of spins this year. I do like, I've been getting more and more into grindcore in the past few years, and it's always nice when something like this come out.
Yeah, I was gonna say I'm not a grindcore guy, but I said that last time that I brought a grind album in our 2 episodes. So I was like, I can't say that, I guess, at this point.
Yeah. Cool. Okay, shall we move on to my number 10? Okay, so we're gonna play it now.
Hell yeah, brother. Damn.
And that was that's the Brazilian bias of my list. I gotta do one of those every episode, I think. This was a band from my city, São Paulo, Brazil, Vazio, Necrocosmos. That's the name
Yes.
of the album. This was the song Oráculo de Ossos. And it's so cool that they sing in Portuguese because they can pronounce everything perfectly. Yeah, so this year wasn't heavy on black metal for me, but this album definitely hit the spot. They're not doing anything crazy, I think, but it's just a very enjoyable. It reminds me of some of the 90s black metal bands, like from the beginning of the 90s, I think. And it's just like I don't know, I just had a lot of fun. A lot of the things on my list, I add into the topmost positions based on how many times I've played them. And yeah, this was on repeat throughout the whole year, ever since it came out. It came out by this distribution label in Brazil called Chaninho Discos, and this guy, he's also a booker, and then he handles a lot of the Brazilian tours in Europe. In fact, when I went to Obscene Extreme this year, and I met the guy from this label at the festival, and he was there with some of the bands from Brazil that were playing at the festival. But yeah, Vazio, this band, it's just great. I really like the bass lines in this album. They did something with the mix where you can hear a very it's just not normal. Sometimes with black metal you can just really hear the bass that much, but you can hear all the bass lines throughout the song.
I just totally latched onto that first note. I was like, whoa, listen to that bass. Yeah, that was really, really prominent, and I agree, you don't really hear that that much in black metal like this. Also, the vocals were totally fucked.
Yeah. This is one that's lower on my list, and only because of just how many albums came out this year and how little time there is. I remember raving about this album when I found it. I think it was after you had found it, Mauricio. But yeah, man, this is great. I love this thing. Yeah,
it's great metal. Their previous is also really good. It's a really solid band. Really happy for them that they're getting more recognized. So it's pretty cool. All right, and now the last number 10. Well, you're always going to be last, I think, Wibbs, in every single position.
not in everything.
Not in everything, that is true. But all right, let's play Wibbs number 10.
Okay, well, that was the title track from Ulcerate's 7th album, Cutting the Throat of God. This one, I think, has been a little bit of a kind of divisive release in a lot of ways. I know Ulcerate is a popular band, but certainly among my circles, this album has kind of left a few people a little flat. Certainly for me, the previous album, Stare Into Death and Be Still, was very, very, very nearly the album of the year, but was usurped by Sweven's Eternal Resonance, which is the album of the decade.
All-timer.
So yeah. And I think what they've done here is just exactly what they did on Stare Into Death and Be Still. And if there's one complaint I can find with this record, is that they really haven't done anything differently at all. Like it's almost like an exact continuation of exactly what they did on the previous album. And, the sound that they've been working with for, probably the last 3 or 4 albums. But I show me a better drummer in the world than Jamie Samarat. He is absolute fucking monster. He's a machine. Like, the guy is just the best drummer. And 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 he also does all the art and the production and everything, and it just the album, like everything is just perfectly arranged, beautifully executed. Just it's not an earth-shattering masterpiece in the sense that maybe some of their other albums have been. The Destroyers of All, Staring to Death Would Be Still, but it's really, really fucking good metal. And like, I think its position at number 10 just kind of reflects the fact that I don't really feel that they kind of move forward in any way. But I think if this was probably my first introduction to Ulcerate, it probably will be higher on my list, right? But anyway, I loved it. I know that it's kind of not everybody is quite as taken with it as I am, but I'm gonna die on the hill that it fucking rules.
It's your list after all.
It is my list, and I'll do what I want with it.
It does roll. But I agree that I wouldn't say this album was controversial or anything like that, but I do prefer the other ones. And in comparison, I mean, I have Ulcerate on my overall my bigger list, but yeah, I just gravitated towards some other stuff this year. But it's a really good. I mean, they are a really good band, really cool band.
Yeah, it's on my list too. And I do agree that I prefer their older stuff. I think of like the Destroyer of All and Verminus, whatever that one is.
Vermins, yeah.
Vermins, that one, yeah. But I think they also suffer from a little bit of that like enslaved effect of like, yeah, it's just another brilliant Ulcerate album, like great. Even though like Wibbs was saying, if this was your introduction to the band, you'd be like, wow, this is brilliant, so, and I think I'm guilty of that a little bit, but I'm a human who makes mistakes, so it's fine.
That is just your regular metal fan, I feel like.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, we started really strong, so I'm really very curious.
No duds allowed. That was the rule.
All right, so we're gonna move into number 9, and we're gonna start again with Derek's number 9. So there he goes.
It's a good number 9.
Hell yeah! Finally, our first duplicate.
Yeah.
Just say the name of the band and the song because it's higher on my list.
I thought it might be. Yeah. No, this is Siderean, and the song was Forces.
Yeah, fucking awesome album. As I said in the beginning, as I was explaining, because that album is higher on my list, we're gonna dock the conversation and we're gonna discuss when we get there. Is it in your list as well, Wibbs? Or no?
Not on my top 10.
Okay, awesome.
For shame.
Yeah.
It's my list. I'll do what I want with it.
All right, yeah. It's funny because for listeners, as we're recording this, we can see each other's reaction. And as soon as I hit play, I was like, yeah, just jumping here on my. Anyway, cool. So we're gonna move on. We're gonna move on into my top 9. Let's do it. Yeah, this was Vuur and Zijde. I think that's how you pronounce that. Is it only on my list?
It's on my list, just not that it was very close to the top 10. But
Okay. Yeah. Yeah, this is a band from the Netherlands, and this came out by Prophecy Productions this year. It's just a beautiful album. Gothic music in general, will always have a very special place in my heart, and I do like the way they mix the black metal elements with post punk. And this album, as you guys could see in this clip, like it's like crazy blast beats, and then all of a sudden it changes into something that came out of, I don't know, something from the, 90s or 80s or something like that. And amazing vocals. I do think that the vocalist, she sometimes reminds me of another singer that I really like, Aniek, she used to sing for The Gathering. She's also from the Netherlands. But I do think that Aniek's range is a little bit, bigger. I think that's the correct way to say it, than this vocalist, but it did remind me of her. And something interesting about this band is that most members are in another band that I know you guys know. It's called Leicester.
yeah.
Yeah, so a lot of the people from this band, they're also in Leicester. But I just had so much fun with this album. Yeah. So I don't know.
Yeah, no, I this one, like I said, just missed out on my list. It's brilliant. It's so good. Very like you said, very gothic, but also, I almost equally kind of shoegazy.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's a great album. The vocals are great. I mostly just want to hear Wibbs. Are you aware of this one? Is this on your list?
No, I in fact,
I could tell by your face. I was like, I don't think he knows what this is.
Yeah.
I don't. In fact, I think I need you to spell out the name. You said Vuur. You said Vuur?
Yeah. So for listeners of the podcast, we're gonna put in the description all the names from all of the bands. But this one is Vuur, like VWR, and then ampersand, and then ZIJDE. It means silken fire, something like that. The name of it. It's kind of confusing, actually. When I first saw the name of the band, I was very confused because I mentioned Aniek from The Gathering, and she actually started a metal project again at some point, which used to be called Vuur. So exactly the same name, VUUR. But this one is VUUR and something else. So it's another band. So at first when I saw this, I thought it was like I thought it was Aniek's project again. I was like, wait, she's back? And then it wasn't. And then the singer kind of sounded like her. I was like, what the hell? What's happening here?
I did listen to this. I knew it sounded familiar. But yeah, no, I was really enjoying what I was hearing. Yeah, like normally kind of talk to me about, like, sadly, now reminded little old me, gothic metal, The Gathering. It's just not my cup of tea, I'll be honest. But I was really enjoying that, and I did enjoy that album a great deal. But I only listened to it once. This is the problem with the endless torrent.
Yep.
Yeah, for sure.
It is a good one though. It also rewards repeat listens for sure.
Yeah, I would say if you're into stuff like Cranes and some of the revered shoegaze-ish post-punk bands that are popular in gothic circles, you're definitely gonna love this. Cool. So we're gonna move into Wibbs number 9.
was The Child by Vemod, which is another Dutch band. And Dutch black metal is very, very cool. And one of the things that I think that characterizes Dutch black metal, and that I think is quite present in that clip, is this kind of uneasiness. Like there's a kind of tortured kind of discomfort about it all, but at the same time it's really beautiful and often quite melodic in a kind of just slightly uneasy kind of way. You know, think about, you know, great bands like Fluistras and, you know, Grey Aura and others. And it just, Vemod, this is the third album, it's just an extremely interesting album. That was quite a slow build kind of clip right there, but it's none of it's like, it's not blasty. Like, it's not a blasty black metal album. It's a creepy kind of sad Dutch black metal album, and I really, really, really love it. Could have been much higher.
The vocals are very interesting. I don't know. I haven't listened to this album actually, but I thought the vocals were pretty interesting in the clip.
Yeah, tortured and just like, you know, with the kind of real, like clean and guttural overdub, and just it's just a very, very, very cool, atmospheric, bleak, but kind of beautiful album. It's very good. I strongly recommend that. The album's called The Mother, by Vemod. That's Verwoed.
Yeah, it's almost like we're friends or something, because that's also on my list. Just not that this high up. Yeah, but it is really great. I also really agree with your assessment of Dutch black metal, just kind of having that uneasy feeling, generally thinking of the aforementioned Laster, kind of like the masters of that, I think. Listen to Laster if people haven't heard Laster. They're great. Anyway, this was also great. Yay, Vemod.
All right. Yay, Vemod. Very cool band.
It's awesome. So we made it to the 9, so we're moving on into top 8 now. Yeah, we're gonna go back to Derek. So clip playing now.
Off we go. Sad we like that.
That's a fantastic record. No.
No.
There's a great clip.
Say the band name, band name, and the music.
Yeah. I guess for those uninitiated, that was Cosmic Putrefaction with the song. This is gonna be a lot of mouthfuls here. Hallways Engraved in Ether from the album Emerald Fires Atop the Farewell Mountains.
It was a constant battle. Cosmic Putrefaction made it in my top 10 and out of my top 10 so many times. But I ended up settling for it to be on the lower position. But I thoroughly enjoyed this album.
Yeah, I get that though. It's like one of those albums you're like, yeah, maybe I put something above it. Then you go back and listen to it, you're like, damn, that's really good though. Yeah, and then it goes back into the top 10.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, it's just it's for those not aware, this was from the mastermind behind other bands like Vertebra, Atlantis. Gigi is his name. He's an Italian musician and so many bands, all just so good. But yeah, I mean, it's cosmic death metal, I guess we can say, progressive death metal. I don't know, something like that. Genres are not real, but yeah, I mean, he's one of those musicians where it's just frustrating how good he is at making music. Just all different kinds. He's also, which wasn't surprising as I was researching stuff, I found out he has 2 degrees in music composition. So I was like, oh, that checks out. Yeah. Because as you can hear in the background of that clip, there's like those really intricate, like plucked, I think it was a guitar or something in the background. I don't know. It was beautiful. Whatever it was, over top those like really aggressive, riffs. Which, yeah, I mean, that just it really sticks out to me, this like disparity between the really aggressive stuff and the lighter stuff, because it reminds me almost of his other band, Vertebra, Atlantis, kind of creeping in a little bit, blurring the lines, which I usually am not a fan of, but since I love both of these bands, I'm really not that upset about. And I wouldn't say it's like striking, it's just every now and then I'm like, ooh, that sounds like Vertebra, Atlantis, but in a good way. So, but yeah, no, he's great, and this album's great.
Awesome. Yeah, I really enjoyed that album as well. I'm generally I naturally gravitate towards anything that's like cosmic horror kind of deal. Like I love that kind of shit. That's my jam. And definitely a very strong album. It is just that I just listened to other stuff more this year. But if it had came out earlier, I could see that making into my top 10, I think, because it would give me more time with it. So, but awesome record.
Yeah, I agree. Like, I'm at the risk of sounding like a Philistine. Music this complex is like quite difficult to find the right times to listen to unless you're able to kind of like really disconnect from what's going on around you, which is very hard to do when you have a toddler. And so I kind of gravitate, not because I like them more necessarily, but just because it's easier to find ways to listen to stuff that's a little bit less demanding of one's attention. And this is very much that, right? So this is one of those ones where I listened to it and thought, well, that was fucking brilliant. Now, when am I going to listen to this again? Like it's so absolutely huge fan of Gigi and what he does. But yeah, that's why it's not super high on my list, because it's just like I just not had been able to give it the time and attention that it deserves. And even when I am listening to it, it's like, am I really able to properly digest this? Because in order to fully appreciate a work like this, you really do need to kind of just sit there and listen to it.
Yeah.
But it's fucking great.
It sure is. Yeah. In the spirit of lists being just, so arbitrary, this one, if I had heard it, like I was totally new to Cosmic Putrefaction, like coming into this album, I definitely would not have it here. Just because, like you're saying, it came out late in the year and, got to spend time with it and all that. But I love him so much, so I like kind of immediately clicked with it. So, I think it could be either super high or, otherwise, depending on circumstance. So, but where it is now, I think it's fair because it's really great. Even though I've only had like 3 weeks to listen to it.
All right. So we're going to be moving on into my number 8. Let's go.
That was awesome.
I felt like I was being swarmed by bees.
That was Slimelord.
Yeah.
Chytridiomycosis Relinquished.
Leeds for the win. Let's go, Yorkshire.
I knew Wibbs was going to get excited with this one. Yeah, they are a band from Leeds, England. This came out by 20 Buck Spin. And they are, most of the people in this band, they are in Cryptid Shift, which is also another fucking amazing band. It's interesting that, you know, one has to wonder, are they following the trails of the Blood Incantation guys? Having spin-off bands that are also, like, really awesome? I don't know.
They've got a way to go before they reach the prolificness of those people.
But
I'm all in favor of Leeds becoming the center of the metal universe.
You know, I categorize this somewhat as like psychedelic death metal. I saw an interview with one of the guys from the band on this YouTube channel. It's called the Chill Dude on a Couch Reviews. So shout out to that guy. I saw an interview where he was explaining some of the concepts behind the album, because it is a conceptual album, believe it or not. The name of the album is a deadly fungal infection that affects amphibians and apparently wiped out a lot of the populations of amphibians, like, you know, the amphibian population in the world. So yeah, it's very deadly. And the concept of the album, there's like this character that goes deep into underground, like the bowels of the earth, and then there's a creature in there, some sort of disease. He gets into the creature, tries to cure the disease, but then the creature comes back into the earth, and then when the character comes back into the earth, everything is destroyed, and the creature was actually the villain. And he mentions like inspirations with video games and a lot of dark fantasy and things like that. And I just love this kind of shit. But I do think that there's I mentioned psychedelic death metal. And this is one of those death metal albums that are sort of like experimental in a sense. There's a lot of crazy shit in all of the songs. It reminds me of a murkier tumult sometimes. I think it's like somewhat in the same vein of sound, and I fucking love tumult. But they switched all of their imagery, all of the things behind the album, the concepts and all of that, to this more like infections, disease, swampy-ish kind of deal. And I just fucking love it. Just amazing album, amazing band.
Amen.
Yeah, 100% agree. It's
yep.
Yeah, very much my thing. Very much love it. It is on my list, just not in the top 10.
Yep.
I feel like
fucking loved it.
I feel like this was the one album that like sometimes I moved it around a little bit, but I settled for Slimelord to be in this position because I did listen to this. I kept coming back to it. So there's something about it. So it's really cool.
So I run a playlist on Spotify every year where I keep track of all of my favorite songs from the year. And generally, as I'm listening to an album for the first time, a song will catch my attention and I'll add it to the playlist, right? And generally that, I add one and I forget about it. This one I added 3 because I was like, oh no, but this one, these riffs. And, oh no, but these riffs. Oh, these riffs are even better than those riffs. It was fucking crazy. I was just like, it was just such a fucking cool album. I've not spent enough time with it. Partly I don't own it on vinyl, but I should. It's $20, right?
Yeah, it is.
$20.
Yeah, I should.
One of their few
$20
hits this year.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's their debut. That's their first ever full length. So
yeah.
They had a great demo or EP before this, but first.
Yeah, they had a few EPs. I went back. I listened to a couple of things, but this is the first full length. But
and this is one that also sticks the landing a bit too. Those last 2 songs.
Man. That's kind of what I was alluding to. It just kind of keeps getting better as the album goes on. Yeah.
Awesome. And
All right.
and now we're gonna move into Wibbs. So Wibbs number 8. Let's do it.
I mean, well, damn.
This is fucking awesome. Yes. Just say the name of the
No.
band because it's higher on my list.
Okay, it's higher on your list. Wow, awesome.
Ooh.
That makes me really, really, really happy, Mauricio. Okay, the song was Eradicating the Symbiotic Hive Mind Entity from Beyond the Void, and the band was, of course, Oxygen Destroyer.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we're talking about them.
Oh, yeah.
When we get to them on my list. Cool. It's been fun so far. Now we're on number 7. Let's keep going, and then we're back to Derek's.
Is it? Oh, it's mine. Okay, I was gonna say. Is it
Yeah.
mine? Okay.
Let's do it right now.
Thought we only had one Brazilian in this podcast.
Yeah. No, we still do. We still do. And that's why I need him actually to pronounce that thing I just sent in the chat, because that is the name of the song from this band Papangu. I just don't know how to say any of that.
Acende a luz, o escandeio.
Yes. That's the song that
I
just
actually-
played from...
I actually don't know what escandeio means, but acende a luz is turn on the lights.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, it all sounds beautiful. So that's really all I got. And the album is, I'm sure I'm going to mispronounce this, but I'm going to try. Lampião Rei?
Lampião Rei.
That one. Yep. He said it way better. Anyway. Yeah. So this was I would still say it's metal adjacent. It's my list. Who cares? But yeah, so that was the band Papangu, released by Repose Records. This is some jazzy avant-garde metal from Brazil with an S. Brasil, I think is how you pronounce it. Is that right?
Yeah, that's the only correct way of pronouncing the name
Right.
of the country. Yeah,
We
whoever
want to
uses
hit
he-
that home for the listeners. Yeah.
Yeah, there you go.
But no, this is it's a great album. It's so much fun. It's one of those like rare albums that I feel like, at least for me, I can throw on just whenever. Don't have to really be in any kind of mood. I'm just like, I don't know what I'm listening to. Papangu. And it just works. Never boring, just engaging, great songwriting, very complicated at times, lots of twists and turns as you could maybe hear there. But yeah, just kind of like an old friend almost in an album. It's great. It's great. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, as soon as I started listening, like I just a big smile on my face. Just seeing the praise that this album got outside of Brazil, it's insane. This is a conceptual album. The name Lampião Rei, it means Lampião was a very, very big, renowned bandit leader in Brazil. He's part of the local culture of that region of the country as well. If you say the name Lampião, everybody knows what you're talking about. And just to see like a band singing about something like that and just being able to put out such an amazing record, it's something that really makes me happy. It is just not like higher on my list. Like it's in my overall list, but it's not super high or anything. It's just because as Derek is saying, is like metal adjacent kind of, and it's not really something that I listen to a lot, but I'm still happy for them nonetheless, you know.
Yeah, there are heavier songs on the album, but yeah, this isn't. It's not like it's an outlier. It mostly kind of sounds somewhat like this. What do you think, Wibbs?
Oh yeah, I mean I've only given it one listen. You're right. It's metal adjacent for the most part. It's not really particularly heavy album, but it is a beautiful album, and like I think we really got a lovely taste of that from that clip. And yeah, I think anybody that's remotely interested in progressive metal or Latin music should check this out, because it's just really fucking nice.
Yeah. It's nice to see someone else bringing Brazilian things into the podcast. I promise, listener, that at some point I'm gonna stop making jokes about the whole Brazilian thing, but that's not gonna happen today. All right, so we're moving on into my number 7, and I know that at least one of you is gonna be very happy as soon as we hit play. Okay, let's go.
Yeah, I have that higher on my list.
Ooh.
Who would have thought that the Wibbs
What a surprise.
entry? It's the Wibbs crack entry in my top 10.
That didn't sound like a Wibbs song at all.
Dude, my clip is the same song. It's probably like it even has some overlap with the same fucking clip.
Yeah, we'll talk about it when we get there. But I knew there that Wibbs is gonna like instantly say, yeah, it's higher on my list. I knew it.
Yeah,
all right.
Very predictable.
We should probably say what it is.
You're going to tell us who it was.
Oh, that was sorry, listener. This was Vemod. I think that's how you pronounce this. The name of the album is The Deepening. So yeah, we're gonna talk about it when it pops up on Wibbs' list.
Yeah.
Cool. And now, well, talking about Wibbs, now it's time for his number 7. Okay, let's do it.
Off we go. Man.
I knew it was going to show up at some point. I was kind of waiting for it.
Yeah.
I was waiting for it.
Could listen to Michael sing at me just forever.
Oh, yeah. So for listeners, Wibbs just showed us his copy of the wax.
This is I forgot, but okay, that's the ulcer.
Oh, he has the Ulcer album
nice,
as well,
nice.
right
There's
there.
the Vemod.
Oh man, he has all the
man.
vinyls.
Yeah.
Oh
I mean,
man,
the listeners are really missing out
He's
here.
just showing off.
Anyway, sorry. So yeah, that was Opeth, paragraph 4, from the last Will and Testament. I'm assuming that you guys don't have this higher on your list.
No.
No,
It
it
only
was
came out
yeah.
a week ago. I kind of insisted that we make sure that we delayed the recording of this podcast until after the album had come out, because I am a degenerate Opeth fanboy, and I haven't had quite enough time to decide really what I think about this, which is why I put it at 7. It could be number 1. I need more time. It's really fucking good. Like it of their prog era. I'm like everybody else, right? I kind of think that Opeth kind of at least temporarily ended at Watershed. But I think that they've been on a kind of like progressively upward track since Sorceress, and there were a lot of fuss was made about them reintroducing the death growls, which is, sure, I'm glad to have them back and everything, but like what I really want is like great riffs and great songs. And that clip right there, I don't know about you guys, it reminds me so much of Serenity Painted Death, and it's a fucking riff, man. And then I also, that like little harp bit and that almost like vocal exercise that Mikhail does at the end of that clip. I mean, he is just an unbelievably gifted singer. I don't fucking know how he does it. Does the prog kind of like get a little too proggy? I don't know.
It do be progging. That's true.
It do be progging, but it's also really fun and interesting rock and roll music, and I don't know. 7 is where it's at now. Could be higher, or maybe I'll decide actually after all I don't like it as much. Who knows? But right now I'm pretty happy.
What an arc that would be.
Could happen.
It could. No, it's a brilliant album. It's one that initially doesn't sound brilliant. It initially sounds like, I don't know.
Yeah, it bounced off me the first time.
Yeah. Like you're like,
the second time I was like, ooh.
Yeah, like you hear him growling and you're like, oh man, we're back. We're so back. And then you hear the music and like, oh, I don't know. Like, and then, yeah, go ahead.
It's not just a return to like pre-Watershed era. Like it's still it's still prog Opeth with the death growls, and like I think if you were expecting them to do Still Life again, then that ain't happening. Like, but they're still
sadly
really, really unbelievably talented, gifted bunch.
Yeah, I think it's just not for me anymore, personally. Derek, your description of like the first listen, that's kind of how it goes for me every time.
You mean for the old stuff too, though?
No, for this one. I'm saying you mentioned that like you listen like the growls are back, but then you listen to the song, it's like, oh, you know.
We were about to have a very different discussion if you said the old Opeth.
No. I love old Opeth. Come on, but what I'm saying is like I just can't. As I saying, it's similar to Papangu. It's just like the proggy stuff is just not really for me. I mean, I can get to like very progressive like death metal stuff, but I need it to be heavier personally. But I can tell it's pretty good music. It's just not for me anymore, I guess.
That's fair. Yeah. They're a band that have just gone a very different direction.
Yeah,
and it's kind of frustrating to me as well because they were my favorite band, and now they're doing something a little bit different. Is it as good as Ghost Reveries? No, of course not. But still good.
Does it approach a watershed for you? I'm just curious.
I don't know. I'm not as big a fan of Watershed as some. I saw that as like a massive dip from Ghost Reveries, which, to be fair, it was. So I don't see it as beyond the realm of possibility that this one might surpass Watershed. I might actually like In Corda Venenum more than Watershed, if I'm being completely honest.
Completely agree.
But at least the Swedish version. But yeah, I like this one. I just need more time with it.
Yep.
Yeah.
7's where it's at now.
It's early days.
Yeah, he just came out. Preston made it that far, if you ask me, right? He just came out, literally.
It was funny, though, because Wibbs was like, I don't know, maybe it's not going to make my list. And then all of a sudden, maybe a day later, he's like, well, maybe it might be brilliant, actually. I'm not really sure.
Well, he did said he's a Futhy fan, so, you know.
Yeah.
All right. So, we've reached number 6, and then we're going to go back to Derek. So this is Derek's number 6.
It's going to be a divisive one. So that was Chat Pile, and the song was Tape, from the album Cool World.
It's really cool you have them this higher in your list. I like Chet
Oh, yeah.
Pyle. I don't listen to them like a lot, but I like the concept of the band, if that makes sense. I really enjoyed this last album. It's really good.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I love Chat Pile. I've loved them, not to be a hipster or anything, but I loved them before even God's Country came out. They had a couple EPs come out, like Please Take Off Your Skin or Take Off Your Skin Please is the one that comes to mind. But yeah, like they're so weird. They're a sludge noise metal band, I guess you'd say, from Oklahoma City. And this album was released by the Flenser. Hell yeah, the Flenser. They put out great stuff. And I think the elephant in the room is I would not have imagined I would be the person to bring the first new metal album to the podcast, but here we are. But it's a good one, at least. I mean, it's I would say, and I wrote down here, it's not going to be for everybody. It's certainly I think noise and sludge as genres are just pretty impenetrable, and then you combine that with some new metal stuff, and that really alienates a lot of people. But I really love it, and this album, to its credit, is a little bit more accessible than the debut, and yeah, I think that actually kind of works to their benefit. Because as you could hear there, they're really good at that, like building tension and then, having like a sing-song kind of thing going on. And I won't lie, this placement of this album, although I do love them, is influenced by seeing them live for the first time, which is just an experience. And I saw them in a wood-paneled basement of a church, which felt just very appropriate. And yeah, it was wonderful. Anyway, I'll stop. Yeah.
Chet Pyle, this album in particular, for me, it just brings this nostalgia feeling that I can't really explain what it is. It just like reminds me of like some stuff that growing up in Brazil, there was a lot of international music coming, and it's obviously a lot of mainstream stuff. And I hear some of that. I mean, I'm talking about rock and roll, and then some of the grunge bands or popular like rock stuff from the 90s, and then some of the new metal from the early 2000s. But there's this certain nostalgic feeling for me, at least when I listen to them. But they are doing their own thing. They are taking that and then doing a bunch of weird shit on top of it. And I think it's like really cool.
Yeah, pretty true. Yeah. What do you think, Wibbs?
Well, I love the clip. Not a band that I've spent really any time with. There's a very easy way to get me to not listen to an album. Say the word noise. And then if you say the word new.
Fair. Yeah.
I'm just like, which is a shame because and this is just me being a reactionary fool, because there's loads of people whose tastes I really admire, yourself included, Derek, obviously.
So kind.
Who talk very highly of this band, and I've just gone, it's not for me, humbug.
He
but
says
I was
just
really
like
enjoying that clip. I do. But yeah, no, I was really enjoying that clip, and I don't know why I have this reactionary idea to noise rock, because, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think one of the kind of like founding fathers in a way of that movement is Fugazi. I fucking love Fugazi.
I could see that,
and
yeah.
I could hear I thought I could detect some hints of that in that clip there.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Cool.
Anyway, yeah, very cool. Like, maybe I need to stop being such a dick and listen to Chat Pile.
I did think
this is
that
a great.
what Derek said in terms of this one being more accessible, I definitely agree with that. The first one is sometimes you have to be in the right headspace to understand what they are doing. I remember when I listened to God's Country for the first time. That's Chet Pile's first album. And I was like, what the hell is going on here? But I started to like appreciate it after a couple of listens because it was similar to what you're saying. It was being highly praised by some of the people that I knew at the time. So yeah,
Yeah, I mean, I feel like this is one of those bands you don't listen to the first time, and they're like, hell yeah. You're like, I don't. That was interesting. I want to listen to it again, or maybe I hate it. I don't know. Um, yeah, but then you make a decision one way or the other over time.
yeah. Yeah, so we're coming into my number six, and I think mine is going to be slightly controversial for different reasons. Let's do it. Okay, so
That's higher for me.
yeah, I had a feeling. I said this one was going to be controversial because why is it not number one, Mauricio? What the fuck is wrong with you? But that was
It's higher for me as well.
ooh. So that was Blood Incantation, Absolute Elsewhere, which I keep calling Absolute Everywhere for some reason. And this was the
Isn't that the
message.
name of their tour?
Is it? I don't know.
It should be if
I
it's
think-
not.
Yeah. And that was the message tablet one, and we're gonna discuss this when it pops up in the higher position possible amongst Derek's or Wibbs list. Okay, cool. Then we're gonna move on to Wibbs number 6. Okay,
Off we go.
do it.
I have no idea what that is at all.
Yeah, I have no idea what this is.
You have no idea. That was The Winding Path
Oh, by Sear.
by Sear Bliss. Sear Bliss
Didn't get-
is
yeah.
from Hungary. If you like big brass bands in your black metal, then Sear Bliss is the band for you. This is their eighth, ninth full length. They've been around for a very long time, since the mid-90s. They play this kind of melodic, progressive black metal with these, like you saw at the beginning, like it was very kind of like synth laden, but then it kind of then the brass band comes in, which is like a really kind of like big component of their sound. I really, really liked their last album. I became aware of them then. That came out in 2018. It was called Letters from the Edge. Nothing since in the last 6 years, but I loved that. Just have just been spinning this album almost like a lot, like all the time since it came out. Just really just find the richness of their sound something really enjoyable and pleasing. But yeah, I could imagine that they're a little they're different. But what do you guys think? Like, neither of you have ever even heard of this band before?
No, I was checking as you were talking. This has been on my to listen list for about 5 months. So you know, that's going great for me, that to listen list. But yeah, I mean, it was great what I heard. And I remember you playing it in the car on the way down to that Guerrilla show that we went to over the weekend. I really liked it. So I'm sure I'm just missing out. So. Yeah. What did you think, Mauricio?
I don't know the band either. The beginning of the clip did surprise me a bit. It sounds pretty cool. I'm definitely missing. But yeah, I do not know the band, but I'll make sure to give it a shot.
Very interesting album art too.
Yeah, it's really nice.
I think you recommended this as something not to be missed this year, Wibbs, and it's been on my queue for a while. And even though you said you should not miss this, I still missed it. So I apologize for you.
And our dear friend Phil Wadey of Phil's Breakfast Metal really plugged this as well. So
all right,
shame on me, I guess.
Double endorsement. Of Sear Bliss. Yeah, the album's Heavenly Down. It's beautiful. Go check it out.
It sounds like it. Yeah.
Well, all right. So we just finished number 6 on everyone's list, and this episode is getting hella long. But I've enjoyed the journey so far. There's definitely a couple of albums that we still need to discuss, stuff that popped up in some of our lists, but it's higher on the others. And I think we've decided to cut this into 2 different episodes, just so that, you know, we don't release like a 4-hour long audio or something. All right. Thanks, everyone. See ya.